Did you know the eldest son of Theodore Roosevelt was the highest-ranking general to land in the assault wave on D-Day? Wading ashore at Utah Beach, this inspirational and charismatic 56-year-old soldier would fight through Normandy, ultimately dying in the process. He was buried in Normandy, where he remains to this day. And in this video, we follow his footsteps, where he landed on D-Day to the very location where he died. Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States, was a larger-than-life character with one of the most exciting careers you could possibly imagine. He had 6 children, the eldest being named Theodore Roosevelt Jr., the subject of this video. This New York political powerhouse family had family ties to FDR, so it may have been expected that Teddy Jr. would follow them into politics too. Teddy Jr. did follow his father to Harvard before starting a successful career in business and investment banking. However, with the outbreak of World War I, Teddy Jr. joined the US Army, achieving the rank of lieutenant colonel rather quickly. He also quickly established a reputation for being a leader who cared deeply about his men. For example, he bought combat boots for every man in his battalion using his own money. Ted was brave too. He was gassed and wounded in battle, earning the Distinguished Service Cross in the process. He did go into politics after the war, becoming governor of Puerto Rico and governor general of the Philippines, but we don't have time to talk about that because fast forward to the outbreak of World War II, where he once again re-enlisted. He was assistant divisional commander of Big Red 1 in North Africa and Sicily before moving to the 4th Infantry Division ahead of D-Day. I couldn't get to Sicily or to North Africa, so we've come to Utah Beach instead, one of the 2 US landing beaches on D-Day. So let's orientate you to the ground. Now, Utah Beach is the furthest westerly beach where the 4th Infantry Division landed on D-Day, and this is our area of interest. Utah is separated from Omaha Beach by an estuary that runs down towards Carentan. This is not good. Carentan was vital to link the Omaha and Utah beachhead. Other locations in this area include St. Mary-Église, where Roosevelt would visit on D-Day +1. We have this footage of him there. Then we have Saint-Côme-du-Mont, the scene of some ferocious fighting with German Fallschirmjäger, and of course St. Mary-du-Mont, a name synonymous with airborne operations. Now let's not forget this area was flooded on D-Day after the Barquette locks were sabotaged by the Germans, so there was inundation behind Utah Beach. So where did he land? Well, this map shows the intended site at Uncle Red and Tear Green. You can see this red house as a reference on the left flank. Now in reality though, they landed here, some 1.5 kilometers further south due to the tide and the current. Okay, welcome to Utah Beach, and behind me is this iconic red house. Now this house was meant to be on the left flank of guys like Teddy Roosevelt Jr. when he landed, but as soon as they landed he realized that actually the house was on his right, and that meant that the current and the tide as it moved from north to south had pushed them about 1.5 kilometers down to this location here. So this is where they landed. They actually landed slightly further down opposite Vita Sands nest number 5. But straight away they knew they were in the wrong location because of this house. And this is almost like a witness to what happened here on the beach that day. We're going to make our way up these rocks to see if I can film the red house. Of course it's private property, so I'm just going to try and look over the fence. But nothing much has really changed there. It would have been exactly the same as when the Germans were probably occupying that building. So let's go and have a look. Now, the reason this building is so important today is because it allowed Roosevelt to make the call to his men with confidence. We start our war from here. The mishap, due to the conditions, had been fortuitous. This was a much better landing zone. So we now go to St. Mary-Église, and I've filmed here before and I've made some shocking revelations when reviewing this footage.
So the footage I've shown you was filmed right here outside this building. Now, almost immediately after D-Day, this building was used as an aid station, and there are some wonderful then and now pictures we can do in this area. In this picture, you can see wounded troops lying in the road with damaged buildings behind them. Very little has changed over the 80 years since this happened. This picture is really quite special because it shows German and US medics standing in this gateway outside what would become the aid station. And I hope you can appreciate this one, as I had to stand in the road and piss off all the locals who were trying to drive back and forth as I was trying to get these images. And just look at this picture. I absolutely love it. Immediately after the airborne forces had landed in the town and secured the town, the Germans had been completely overrun following all the fierce fighting around the area, but they were now starting to already work together. This picture's hard to line up because of the lenses used in 1944, but I wanted to share it with you because it is quite ominous. Roosevelt would end up being buried in St. Mary-Glees, and this sign refers to those cemeteries. Now this one is brilliant. A completely overladen Jeep carrying way too many soldiers races down this alleyway, a bit like Wacky Races. And you can see this old couple carrying their belongings, trying to avoid the Jeep. I mean, just look at that Jeep. It looks like it's going to topple over. And again, this picture, I'm stood in the road, dodging the cars as they go back and forth. But this really is a brilliant picture. I don't quite get to line this up perfectly, but hopefully you can understand the reasons why. And again, you can see this couple that we saw in the last photo. Now, remember them. This is the footage of Roosevelt, and look who we see right here. And this proves Roosevelt was here at the same time that these iconic pictures were taken. So where did he die? Well, just south of Carentan is the village of Mortis. And if I overlay this modern map with a World War II aerial image, you can see some of the key points within the village that we're going to see. So the church, and of course the school building right here. Now this area was under constant German counterattack and harassing artillery bombardment, most notably from the Fallschirmjäger at the Battle of the Bloody Gulch. It was after returning from one of these attacks that Roosevelt suffered a major heart attack. Well, that's right, he kept his ailing health and a heart condition secret. He'd been avoiding medics, he'd been avoiding doctors whenever he could, and he had been through all of these ordeals that we've spoken about so far with this serious medical condition. It's believed Roosevelt suffered his heart attack in this garden, which used to be an orchard, and his men then took him to the school building nearby, which is where we're going to go now. Now, the only thing really to commemorate the fact that Teddy Roosevelt Jr. did die in Mortis is this plaque on the wall here. And the plaque is actually on the building where he died. A lot of people sort of skip over that fact. He was brought back to this school building. This school building is where he had spent some days previously. Pretty much the last picture, or very certainly one of the last pictures ever taken of him, was taken in this doorway, and I'll show that picture right now. Now, of course, this is private property, so I don't want to intrude too much. I can't do a then and now to line it up, but it was taken just there, and he passed away right there in that outbuilding. So this is the exact location where Roosevelt passed. He finally succumbed to his poor health, which he had concealed from his men and his chain of command, but it was just the other side of this wall. It's actually believed that this is the last ever picture taken of Roosevelt in the orchard where he would suffer that very serious heart attack. As we have discovered, Brigadier General Theodore Roosevelt Jr. died in Normandy not long after he had landed on the D-Day beaches in the assault wave, the only general officer to do so on Utah Beach, and at the age of 56 years old, no less. Now, you might think news of his death would be suppressed or delayed so as not to harm morale, but in reality, his death was announced the very next day in US newspapers. Now, one can assume this was to show the US public that even the elite and the eldest son of a former US president was sharing the burden of total war. Now, if the same were to happen today, the same news would be reported hundreds of times in print, on social media, and a number of other sources, all with a different spin on things depending on which side of the political spectrum you most aligned your feed. No room for divergent thinking or critical thought here, and no easy way to compare how different outlets frame the same event. Wouldn't it be brilliant if there was a platform to collect all these views in the form of news items, determine their biases, and rate them for accuracy? Well, there is such a platform, and I'm very pleased to say that Ground News is the sponsor of today's video, and I want to show you how it works. Each day, Ground News collates over 60,000 news items from around the world and organizes them into one place. They will show you related news stories, determining political biases, showing you where the articles came from, and how many news sources are covering the same story. You can even compare headlines across the spectrum to see who's spinning the story and how. Another cool feature I use is the blind spot, which will highlight stories which have been almost exclusively covered by either the left or the right. Ground News gives me all the context I need to make sense of the headlines. With this level of transparency, it's easier to stay truly informed without falling into an echo chamber. Now, best of all, because you follow the History Explorer channel, Ground News are offering 40% off the Vantage plan for unlimited access to both the website and the app. Simply go to ground.news/History Explorer or access the link in the description below. This discount is only available for a limited time, and with 40% off, it works out as $5 a month. So go to the link now and join over 2 million people who are keeping track of the news cycle without being affected by narratives.
So you can see over there the church spire at St Mary Glees, and that hangar-looking building is the excellent World War II Museum in St Mary Glees. We are back in St Mary Glees, and we have come to our final location related to our story of Teddy Roosevelt Jr., and that is this location here, which is right near a school. So I'm not going to pan to my left because that's where a school is, and the location we are going to see is the original cemetery at St Mary Glees. Now, there are actually 3 cemeteries near here, but this is the one we're going to come and have a look at, because this is where Theodore Roosevelt Jr. was initially interred. He was buried here, and there is a marker here now explaining exactly that.
Now, Roosevelt was the only general on D-Day to land by sea with the first wave of assault troops. At 56 years old, he was the oldest man in the invasion. Amazingly, his son also landed in the assault wave, but on Omaha Beach, and he also survived. Now, Roosevelt did this in poor health, with a heart condition that we've already discussed that he had concealed from his chain of command. Now, on the day of his death, he'd actually been selected for promotion to 2-star general and given command of the 90th Infantry Division. Among his pallbearers were Omar Bradley, Patton, Barton, and Hodges, that you can see in the footage. Now, Roosevelt was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor on September the 21st, 1944. Now, Theodore Roosevelt and his father remain one of only 2 father-son combos to receive the highest award for bravery in the United States. And you get extra points if you can tell me in the comments who the other pair were to receive the Medal of Honor. Roosevelt was an inspirational leader, and he cared very deeply about his men. If you enjoyed this video, why not leave a comment, hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel. I have hundreds more videos like this on the way, and I hope to see you again next time.